Feel like lucid be my dreams. Said you love me, so I'm sure you know the means. It's like I'm living all inside a movie in a dream. Sequels to my life entirely up to me. Slowly suffocating, do you notice how it feels? Baby, can you hold me while I'm running through the field?
Like I'm telling y'all, this is worse than the Luka trade. Well, I'll explain though. I'll explain.
This might be, and I'm not even joking. This might be the dumbest ever seen in my entire life. We're live. I'm gonna tell y'all right now, there is just absolutely no way it was that bad. There is absolutely no way that it was that bad. There is no way. Matter of fact, I'm so serious, chat, when I say this is so in the moment, I'm about to throw this on low post. Matter of fact, I'm keeping all this up. All this is getting kept up. Matter of fact, let's just run through a video real quick.
Gang, this is worse than the Luka trade, bro. This is worse than the Luka trade. Like, I'm telling y'all, this is worse than the Luka trade. Well, I'll explain. Should I go off right now on it? Yo, this is about money though. By the way, all the shit they're saying about his character is all bullshit. But
there's no way. There is absolutely, positively no way that it got this bad. This is such a bad trade. I don't even know I'm gonna do any heavy edit to this video. We're just gonna get it up. There is absolutely, positively no way that it was this bad. Trading Jaylen Brown to the Philadelphia 76ers for Paul George, 2 first-round picks in 2 seconds. There is no way. There is absolutely, positively no way that you just traded Jaylen Brown for Paul George and
appreciate the follow, gang.
2 first-round picks. And chat, it doesn't even matter how deep into the future the picks are, because Philly is going to keep Jaylen Brown. So you just gave a team with Maxey, VJ Edgecombe, and now Jaylen Brown. Those picks are not going to amount to much of anything. They will be at worst a consistent playoff team. I want people to also understand, yes, I'm about to get into this as well. I want people to understand how bad this is. First things first, for those who are unaware, Paul George just had a birthday. You traded Jaylen Brown for a 36-year-old. I also want everybody to understand, not only did you trade Jaylen Brown,
this is worse than a Luka trade because, gang, you have to understand, at least with the Luka trade, when they traded Luka for 80, I know Luka is better than 80, but bro, you have to understand, 80 was still a top 10 player, nigga. And even if it didn't work out, you could still trade AD for other assets. Niggas would still be willing to take AD's contract. You can't trade Paul George for fucking pre-cum, nigga. Nobody's trading for that, nigga. So, bro, just fucking, nigga, you cannot trade Paul George for fucking pre-cum, nigga. Nothing. Nobody's trading for that, nigga. And even after the trade, the Luka trade, niggas still looked at the Mavs as a contender. Like, yeah, Luka was better, but bro, AD was not like AD was still a top 10 player. Niggas still looked at the Mavs like a contender. If anything, it was the Lakers. Niggas was like, yo, this is a pass year for the Lakers, bro. They have to get a center and restructure their roster and shit. Bro, nobody's looking at this team like, yo, the Celtics are going to contend still, or none of that shit. None of that. Now, Nick, they're going to come out and say a bunch of shit like, oh, Jaylen Brown was, what did they say? He thinks he's the smartest person in the room. He wanted to be the guy. Bro, I'm telling y'all, it has nothing to do with that. It all has to do with money. Long story short, that nigga is eligible for a supermax on his next contract. I don't remember how much. It's kind of the same shit with Luka. Part of the reason they didn't want to pay Luka, bro, the supermax nigga is like, I think he can get like 70 or 80 mil a year, nigga. They're not trying to pay that, especially with the second apron. That's the reason this trade happened. It's similar to the Luka shit. That second apron is crazy, which I feel like that shit needs to be adjusted or taken away. Because, bro, they implemented the second apron because of the fucking Warriors. But now it's like it's fucking up other teams, bro. The second apron is fucking up every other team, even if you're not a D's team like the Warriors. Because the Warriors, how do I explain it? The Warriors on the second apron is like, what is it? Is it 209? It's something like that. Something like that, right? The Warriors, when they became a super team and shit, they implemented that because of the Warriors. When the Warriors were a super team, the second, nigga, they would have been way over the second apron. Way over it. So they either have to increase where the second apron is or just get rid of it completely. Because it's like they're punishing everyone. It's like, say, for example, one nigga was going 160 down the fucking road and crashed into a fucking school. And then they're like, they're like, yo, the speed limit here is now 10. Like, nigga, you don't have to do all that. Them niggas was just moving crazy with it. That's the issue. Nigga, the Warriors, I think Let me double check. I'm gonna search it up on the
for
side.
a 36-year-old. You traded Jaylen Brown for a 36-year-old who just got done only playing 37 games. And the year before that, 41. He played 74. Great. But the year before that, 56, 31, 54, 48. Granted, some of these are shortened seasons, but Paul George has not had a full healthy season since 2024. And he claimed even when they were going into the bubble, he wasn't 100% healthy either. That's what you just traded for. Let's make it even worse. You traded for Paul George.
Yeah, like I said, the second apron is like 207 mil, right? Or no, is it? Yeah, like around 207, 209, something like that. I think it's 207. Nigga, if you were to adjust the Warriors' salary for now, nigga, those niggas would be, I think it was like 250 million. That's how much fucking money they were spending. The second,
when
like,
he's owed $54 million next year, and then $56 million the year after that on a player option that he's obviously going to take. He's obviously going to take that. And again, it does not matter how far into the future it is. Maxey is under contract until 2029. VJ is on his rookie deal until 2029. I know they're going to have to pay Jaylen Brown, but I'm for sure going to trade Jaylen Brown or sign Jaylen Brown when Maxey and VJ are going to be on a team. They're both 25 and under. So the picks that you got don't really even mean much, if anything. A 2028 first round pick that could convert from a first to a swap that's more favorable to Boston. 2028, 2 years from now? And then a 2031 unprotected first. So at best, if everything falls apart in this year, at best, you might get one top draft pick. At best, this is the worst move. I'm not gonna lie, this is the worst move I think I've seen in a very... Since the Luka Doncic trade, this is the worst move. Paul George is not healthy.
Like I said, this is worse than a Luka trade. Worse.
He's overpaid. He's old. He has not been able to produce at any high level in any postseason setting. And on top of that, you're in the middle. You are quite literally in the middle of what should be Jason Tatum's prime. And unfortunately,
the gap between Luka and AD is not the same as the gap between fucking Jaylen Brown and a 36-year-old Paul George guy.
He just came off a torn Achilles. So you're telling me that you are willing to risk whatever is left of Jason Tatum's prime for this? For Paul? I refuse. I refuse to believe that's what you just did. And also, chat, I'm trying to even fathom what the counter can be, because I could potentially see maybe you get more draft capital and this will make a bigger move, right? Cade is not leaving Detroit anytime soon. Brunson is not leaving the Knicks. Donovan Mitchell will be, in my opinion, a
They're not getting none of these niggas, gang.
downgrade, but you start unless you already have something lined up for Trey Murphy at $27 million, and maybe DeJounte Murray, and then you got some of the more picks to
cap. If they had something lined up, why would you have something lined up for Trey Murphy? Why the fuck would you not just trade Jaylen Brown to the Pelicans for Trey Murphy and some picks? You, nigga, I don't think, like, this is what I'm trying to tell you. This is all about bread, because they know that Paul George's contract is going to be done in 2 years. Yeah, they have to pay him a bag, but it's done in 2 years. With Brown, you have to pay him a supermax. That shit going to be like 70 mil, 80 mil, some crazy shit. They didn't want to do that. This is the worst trade they could have made. Nigga, they would have been better off trading for Ja Morant, Kawhi, any nigga who you saw got moved, any nigga that you seen get moved, they would have been better off trading. Swear to you. Y'all also have to remember that these niggas could have traded Jaylen Brown for fucking Giannis. So all this shit about he has no value and all this fuckery is bullshit. They could have traded him for Giannis, and those niggas didn't want to include Hugo Gonzalez, nigga. These niggas is smoking dick. They're smoking dick. They could have had... So, Hugo Gonzalez is essentially the difference between the Celtics having Giannis right now and them niggas having Paul George. Now, tell me, does that make fucking sense? Bro, essentially, Hugo Gonzalez at the minimum has to be a MVP caliber player to make this trade to make this trade worth it. And even then, he would have to kind of even exceed that, because you just fucked up Jason Tatum's whole fucking window to contend. So even if this nigga does hit his peak fucking 6 years from now, 5 years from now, and Jason Tatum is fucking like 30 some, you already fucked up. There's nothing here.
If the Pelicans actually wanted Jaylen Brown, a Trey Murphy for Jaylen Brown trade would have been done by now. That's the other thing. I take that back. Yeah, why wouldn't you just trade if you're trying to get just Trey Murphy? Why would you not just trade Jaylen Brown for Trey Murphy? So that doesn't even make any sense either, bro. No, this is by far the worst trade I have seen since the Luka Doncic. This is one of the worst trades. And also, let me say this as well, bro. Something had to have happened for them to feel so adamant that there was no other choice but to trade him, because there's no way that what you effectively get in return is a 36-year-old PG making $50+ million and potentially only one really good draft pick. That is not enough to justify this. No, it is not. That is, bro, this makes no sense. This don't even make a smidgen of sense. A 2028 first round pick that could convert from a first to a pick swap. So it's not even clear, bro. This is not it. This is not it. Man.
I wasn't thrilled with the amount of respect that was showed during this process. I think there was a bit of a lack of respect. I think it was fine at one point, and then out of nowhere things just kind of went left. You know, I think Brad is probably getting a lot of the criticism. I wasn't thrilled the way he facilitated some of the conversations.
Brad, is Jaylen Brown going to be on this team at the beginning of next season?
Jaylen Brown's a big part of us. Like, you know, I'm not.
Again, this was a boss call, gang. This was like, Brad Stevens is not a fucking idiot. It's the same thing with Nico Harrison. You see these niggas do all this. Drew Holiday, Chris Epstein, they put this team around them niggas and then win the finals. You see the Mavericks, they put all these Kyrie, they get draft Derek Lively, trade for Gafford, trade for Washington. Then you see them do some bonehead shit like this. This is about money, though. This is the owners.
Never gonna predict the future, but
this is the owners.
Like every indication, everything that I think about is over the past few years has been building around those guys, right? And so obviously you never know, but at the same time, I think the one thing I want to make very clear is how valued he's always been.
Last night, we seen one of the worst returns for a superstar that I've seen in my entire life. Obviously, we all talk about the Luka trade and how inexplicably bad that trade was, but this rivals that. To me, in some ways, it actually might be worse. Philly and Boston are obviously divisional rivals, and Philly and Boston have honestly been in each other's way for the duration of all of their best players.
Gang, these niggas have played like over like 40, I think either over 40 or 30 playoff games against each other. Like, you trade that nigga to the rivals.
Careers. Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Joel Embiid, and hell, even Ben Simmons back then. Basically, since Jason Tatum got drafted, these two have played each other in the playoffs 23 times. Boston has come out on...
Never mind, 23. I don't know why I said 30 or 40. Not 23
top. The majority of these times.
23,
these
still
two
a lot.
In Game 7, 2 different times. And since these two teams have drafted and formed their contending teams, they've always been destined to meet when it matters most. With all of that context, that's who Brad Stevens decided to deal arguably their best player right now to, and it made no sense. Last night, after that trade, it really made me sit and ponder that Jaylen Brown is one of the most disrespected superstars I've ever seen in my entire life. And yes, despite everything people emphasize about what he can't do, he is and proved to be a superstar. Jaylen Brown recently tweeted, "Since he's been drafted, nobody has more regular season and playoff wins combined, and that's a fact."
And what really bothers them is that he's not an idiot. So they knew he wouldn't settle for nothing less than the Supermax. So they knew they had to move off him while he still had some years on his contract, so they could avoid paying him that Supermax. And you know.
But to actually take it a step further, since he's been drafted
and get something back, because if he had like 1 year and then next year he's expecting a Supermax, how much assets are you really gonna get for 1 year of Jaylen Brown? So they're trying to shop him to get some value from him or for him before he was on his last year his deal, and they almost got the Giannis trade done, but it didn't go through. Then after that, they started to realize because he was in trade rumors, they're like, okay, now we have to move off of this nigga because this is gonna fuck up the team chemistry, everything's gonna be fucked up. Because we already tried to trade this nigga and been blatantly disrespecting this nigga. We have to move him now. And they had to take what they could get.
Has more playoff wins than anybody, second Tatum. He's been to 6 conference finals, more than anyone. And most importantly to me, he's felt like the heart and soul of Boston. And it always felt like it meant nothing. I understand the majority of Boston fans appreciate Jaylen Brown. And that's been pretty evident to me over the last 24 hours. But there has been this specific bunch that didn't. And that seemed to be pretty clear from the start.
Here's Adam Silver. Let's listen to it right here, guys.
Booed the fuck out of him, I remember.
The Boo Birds are out. Mixed reaction.
They'll like him later.
But I understand why, though, because everybody's reading the tweets.
They want Buddy Hield. They listen to you.
I want Buddy Hield.
They listen to you, Drake.
When Jaylen Brown got drafted, he literally got booed by his own fans.
Y'all remember when niggas were saying Buddy Hield was the next Steph Curry, nigga?
That Boston's former owner came out and said it was the worst he's ever seen.
This guy is our guy, and he's our guy for the future. So we're pleased to make the pick, and we're very glad that Jaylen Brown is a Celtic. Thank you very much.
Danny Ainge, their former GM, he had to come out and publicly defend the move, and he was right. I'm sorry, but if you look at that draft now, Jaylen Brown is pretty clearly the best of that bunch.
Yep.
And besides him always being the number one player thrown in trade rumors anytime any new hot player became available, please look at all the sacrifices this man has made for this team, and it meant absolutely nothing. In 2017, Boston had a phenomenal offseason by the eye. They drafted Jason Tatum, they got Kyrie Irving from one of their biggest rivals, Cleveland, and Brad Stevens was able to get Gordon Hayward back.
Yeah.
This group was supposed to be something special, and it collapsed immediately. For as great as Boston has been over the last decade, they've had some swings and misses and misfortunes themselves. Kyrie Irving also got hurt that year, so basically their entire offseason plan failed instantly.
Yo, the way this organization did Isaiah Thomas was crazy, nigga. Holy,
The
I'm gonna
biggest
talk
reason
about
it
that
didn't
after.
is because this rookie and this second-year player stepped up immensely, and it's only like one guy gets the credit. For a second-year player who basically became like an afterthought, in the games Kyrie Irving didn't play that year, this is what Jaylen Brown did. They lost in the conference finals against Bron, who was clearly on a whole different level. And yes, a rookie Jason Tatum played great and had this iconic dunk over Bron.
And this how niggas don't give him his respect. I'm pretty sure he led this team in scoring and nobody talked about it. Everyone was on Tatum dick.
But Jaylen Brown was the one that led him in scoring that year against Cleveland in that conference finals. And how exactly was he rewarded?
Damn, this team is stacked. You're there. Kyrie's there. Jaylen Brown's second season. You guys just drafted Jason Tatum. Al Horford's there. Like a loaded roster.
In my eyes, it was just we all had, there's too many agendas. Then you've got JT and Jaylen and Terry who are coming off where they're all starting, make it to the Eastern Conference Finals, I think, the year before. Like they're all trying to prove like we've arrived.
Boston comes back the following year with all this talent on paper, but it's way too many egos, similar play styles, and like Gordon Hayward said, personal agendas. And who do you think had to take the
That
biggest
nigga Rozier
sacrifice?
fucked up his career.
Call Bron, and tell him I apologize for being that young player that wanted to everything at his, at his fingertips, and I wanted everything to be at, my threshold. I wanted to been the young guy of, being a 22-year-old kid and, wanting everything. They want everything right now, coming off an all-star year starting, and then, this heck of a presence comes back, and now I got to adjust my game to this guy.
With all due respect to Kyrie Irving now, first option Kyrie at that time was pretty cancerous to Boston. And with him and his ego and Gordon Hayward coming back, who was coached by Brad Stevens at Butler, even off a Game 7 Conference Finals appearance against Bron, where he led that team in scoring, Jaylen Brown was the one that had to come off the bench.
Kyrie came in and had a really positive message for you guys. You have to be more accountable in the group. It's not one guy's fault. It's not young guys, old guys' fault. It's everybody. So we all got to be accountable and turn this thing around. But we just got to have each other's back at the end of the day. We can't make comments, we can't point fingers. We just got to continue to empower each other and have each other back. If we don't, when we start pointing fingers, everybody's going to go into their own bullshit. We got to continue to play basketball. It starts from the top to the bottom, not from the bottom to the top.
Looking back on it, I understand Gordon Hayward was the hot new face in Boston. He chose Boston. He was on a massive contract.
Yeah.
It was a lot of
It makes sense. They paid him a bag. So I understand them starting him. I don't remember how that rotation was,
energy around.
because I still think that at that point maybe Brown should have started over Tatum, especially since he outplayed him.
But bro, he was just the 3rd overall pick, and fresh off that playoff run he just had, he came back and was essentially the 7th man. After that, Boston offered him this contract, and rightfully so, he declined it and bet on himself, and won. The following season, Jaylen Brown took one of the biggest leaps of anybody all year, and it became crystal clear. Gordon Hayward, unfortunately, won't be what they wanted, and Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum is obviously the future. Always being doubted. Really, since he came there, Jaylen Brown added an extra $35 million to his account simply by betting on himself and winning. And on that contract, that he really had to go out, bet on himself, prove himself, and earn. Please look at everything he did. 3 All-Star appearances, an All-NBA appearance, 2 Finals appearances, a Finals MVP. And mind you, he did all of this through immense disrespect by his own organization. This new contract basically started in the 2021 season and ended the year they won an NBA championship. 2021, Jaylen Brown can't play in the playoffs, and they essentially get gentlemen swept. The following year, Jaylen Brown tweets this after everything looks disastrous, and Boston goes on one of the most impressive midway turnarounds I've ever seen, and they make the NBA Finals. How exactly is he rewarded? Obviously thrown in another trade rumor to get Kevin Durant, and they failed. Now, I'm not stupid. I understand Kevin Durant, specifically at that time, was Kevin Durant. I understand Giannis now is Giannis. But bro, from Jaylen Brown's lens, how many times can he be doubted, prove them wrong, and then once again redoubted, and it means nothing? Okay, the following season, Jaylen Brown has his best year of his career and actually makes an All-NBA team. It just felt like Boston really didn't want him to make that All-NBA team because he now qualified for this Supermax contract that seemed to be reserved for Tatum only.
So this is the shit they paid him the first time. Look, this is 5 years, $303 million. This is in 2023. So in 2028, we're going into 2027. So they knew they have 2 years on his shit left. If we try and trade him not next season coming, but the season after that. Bro, he has 1 year. He has no value. So they tried to trade him now. Couldn't get the Giannis deal done. But it was so public that they tried to trade him. This was like the 4th time. There's no way they were just bringing him back into that locker room again. So they're like, fuck, we have to move this nigga now. I'm telling y'all.
Now they had 2 of them, and Jaylen Brown earned that. And after signing that contract, and the following year, still playing on the old deal that, remember, he had to earn and bet on himself. The Celtics win the NBA championship, and Jaylen Brown is the finals MVP. When I think back at that finals, I really think about how Boston just took Kyrie completely out the series, how much Boston's fans hated Kyrie, and how Jaylen...
And this nigga was guarding fucking Luka, and niggas are trying to say, oh, Jason Tatum deserved finals MVP. Any nigga who watched that final series knows that Brown was outplaying him. Bro, Tatum was shooting horribly. Brown didn't shoot the best ever either, but like I think if Tatum won finals MVP, he would have been the worst shooting finals MVP ever. Like he was shooting like 27% from 3, 38% from the field. Brown was guarding their best player and was outscoring this nigga for the most part. At the very end, the last game, I think Tatum was just fucking putting up buckets, but it was already a blowout. Like during the series, if you watch, Tatum was scoring buckets when like they were up 15, but when it was a close game, he was struggling. Brown was the one who was giving them the edge and giving them that lead, and then after that, Tatum would start going crazy. But up until then, Tatum would be struggling. And in the last game, when they were blowing him out, he put a bare number, so he fucking passed him in the scoring. But he wasn't a better player.
Brown just harassed Luka. We know how their title defense attempt went. They won 61 games. They looked like obvious Eastern Conference favorites, and the Knicks just punched them in the face, and Jason Tatum towards Achilles. Having to revamp everything after their golden boy Tatum. And I'm not trying to disrespect Tatum because I rock with Tatum, but this is how they view him. And now the player that you begrudgingly had to respect because he earned that, that guy exceeding expectations and damn near making you championship, at least Eastern Conference favorites before the playoffs started. Him doing all of that and still having to fight for his value is insane.
And this group was a special group. I'm so proud of this group and the way we played. I wish we trusted that style of play a little bit more, but I know playoffs kind of shifted our rotations and what we wanted to do. But I'm so proud, and it was my favorite year of my basketball career.
When Jaylen Brown first said this, I looked at it kind of like Jaylen Brown was selfish. I can't lie.
I don't know why people thought that. To me, it absolutely makes fucking sense why he would say that. People might, oh, the championship year, but the championship year, nigga, they played it. I'm not to disrespect it, but everyone they played that series from round 1, I think was the Heat. Jimmy was injured. Round 2, I think was the Cavs. The Donovan niggas, like 4 of their fucking stars were injured. Conference finals, fucking Pacers. Halliburton was injured and missed games. Finals against Dallas, Luka had been injured that whole playoff run and was listed as questionable. Even against the Thunder, listed for questionable every single game. Like he was injured. That's another reason why the Mavs ended up moving him, because like he can't stay healthy. He's out of shape and shit. But he was dealing with like a strained hamstring. Maybe everyone who was injured. The reason why him saying that, oh, this is his favorite season is not fucking selfish, is because this was the year where he was able to prove to everyone that he's an MVP caliber player. He led a team to the 2nd seed when niggas didn't even think they were gonna make the fucking playoffs. He led them to the 2nd seed. So now with you understanding, yo, we have 2 MVP caliber players, you'll be like, all right, bet, let's take both of them, run it back next year. Now we understand. There's no one or the other. There's no Batman and Robin. They're both Batman. They're both elite players together. Instead of doing that, the fans and media and fucking the Celtics pit them against each other.
But actually now looking at his career and looking at how year after year after year, he had to really prove his value. And it feels like the 1 year he finally did is when the golden boy was out the way. I understand it now. Think about all the trade rumors Jaylen Brown was essentially a part of. Anthony Davis, the trade was centered around Jaylen Brown. Kevin Durant, obviously in 2022, the trade package was around Jaylen Brown. The Giannis trade this year was obviously around Jaylen Brown, and it failed. I don't think I've ever seen a homegrown player more disrespected really for the totality of his whole career than Jaylen Brown. In back-to-back years, in 2016 and 2017, it feels like Boston just got the best of Philly. In 2016, Philly had the first pick, and they picked Ben Simmons, and Jaylen Brown was the best in that draft. In 2017, Boston had the best pick, traded back to Philly's pick, and still got the best player,
it's like
Jason
some
Tatum.
karma
and
shit.
Now it feels like Boston paid them back in the worst way possible, and truly made one of the worst trades I've ever seen in my entire life.
And what ends up happening is, because there isn't any real basketball reason why you would do that outside of potentially a better fit for a year or two, you now end up attacking his character and who he is as an individual, which is where we saw it with Colin Cowherd, because it definitely crossed a line in my opinion.
They obviously wanted Jaylen Brown out of the building. Jaylen Brown, I had 2 NBA sources tonight, 2 people in the league, one an executive, one a scout, say that Jaylen Brown it's a disease. He suddenly thinks he's the smartest guy in every room he's in.
Bullshit,
I've worked with people in the media. It's really, you get into a really bad space. You make a lot of money. Suddenly you're absolutely sure. You don't want to listen to your bosses. You don't want to listen to consultants. You don't want to listen to teammates. Jaylen's kind of, and by the way, this was, one executive told me, this was always a little bit of Jaylen Brown's personality, kind of the smartest guy in the room, and live streaming and throwing it out there. And that's just not a good space. It used to be nothing good happens after 3 a.m. Nothing good happens when pro athletes live stream. It's
again bullshit. All of this is bullshit. Let me skip to the money aspect, because bro, like I said, this all has to do with money, with the owners. These niggas don't give a fuck about none. All this shit they're telling you, they just have to give the fans a reason as to why, so the fans keep coming out and still supporting it, so they keep making their money. This has nothing to do with the reason. It's all because of money. They try to do the same shit with Luka, because if you think about it, does it make sense? Oh, he thinks he's the smartest guy. He keeps going on live stream and talking and da da da. So you trade for Paul George, who's significantly worse and is a fucking podcaster. Same shit they did with Luka. Oh, Luka, he doesn't stay in shape. He's not healthy. We don't think we can win around him. So you trade for Anthony fucking Davis. It's bullshit. It all has to do with money, gang. Don't believe these elite rich niggas, bro. They're lying to you niggas. They just can't tell you, yeah, we traded him because of money. Because you as a fucking fan is gonna be like, fuck this organization. You're not gonna buy no fucking jersey from these niggas. You're not gonna buy no tickets for these niggas. And that fucks up if it's about money, that fucks up their bread.
Celtics don't believe that Jaylen Brown is worth a supermax contract, and that's why Brown has frustrations, or why the "if it was up to me" comment was made. I said that on May 7th, and this is like days after the series concluded. Even in the video, I said the exact same thing as well. And also what Jaylen Brown said in his comments about, if they were to have me, I would love to stay, may mean that behind the scenes, the Celtics are already entertaining trade proposals to move Jaylen Brown from one team to the next, because they know that they're not fully committed in the idea of giving JB the $70 million a year contract that he's expected to sign. And so they're not trying to pay that conversation around Jaylen Brown wanting his own team may not necessarily be based off of the fact that he's being an egotistic maniac and he's being unreasonable, even though I do believe there is a bit of resentment with Jaylen Brown and him feeling underappreciated, which is all understandable, rather than
they didn't want to pay him that $70 million.
Why that type of financial commitment may be a bit difficult for the Celtics to commit to? Well, it's because the person who now, the new owner who is controlling the Celtics, even though he put the money up, he actually don't have the money to do anything. He don't make the final decisions because there's a private executive firm holding it in the background. And I can't believe not enough people are talking about this, but it's starting to get around now.
On paper, 6th Street only owns part of the team. But according to sources close to the Celtics and with 6th Street, the private equity firm has a lot more power than they're admitting publicly. This is how it looks on the surface. Chisholm is the face of the franchise. With Grossbeck, the previous owner stayed on in an advisory role, and 6th Street was just a financial partner, hands off. But behind the scenes, the power dynamic is different. According to multiple sources close to the Celtics, this was the timeline. Step 1, Chisholm approached 6th Street to partner on a bid for the Celtics. Step 2, 6th Street puts in more money than Chisholm, a structure that violated the NBA's rules on how much private equity can own for an NBA team. Step 3, despite that, the Celtics publicly announced the sale anyway, with Chisholm as the lead buyer, even though he had less money in the sale than 6th Street. In step 4, that public announcement helped Chisholm raise money from other investors, allowing him to reduce 6th Street's percentage after the fact and bring the deal into compliance with the NBA's rules on private equity. Our relationship gives 6th Street a lot of power over Chisholm and the Celtics, and because of that, there's a catch in the ownership structure of how this deal was made. 6th Street negotiated what's called a preferred share, a special kind of equity within the team that guarantees that the private equity firm gets their money back first if anything goes wrong. If the Celtics lose value, 6th Street still gets all of their money back. If the other owners lose money on the Celtics, 6th Street doesn't lose any of it.
Now, the reason why that's so important to acknowledge is because once you start entering to like the luxury tax and the second tax apron, and you have to start paying the penalties with going high up, that means that the individual who has to
they lose a fuck ton of money off of the luxury because of the luxury tax. They have to spend so much money, so they end up, the team, even though it's a fucking NBA team, they end up losing money instead of actually making money off of the team. That's why, for example, the Timberwolves traded fucking Cat. Do you believe that the Timberwolves made that trade with the idea like, yeah, this is gonna make our team better? Fuck no. Fuck no. They traded him for money. That's the same shit. Even teams like the fucking Hornets, because Minnesota, how much money is Minnesota generating? It all comes down to location. Toronto probably generates a lot of fucking money. New York generates a lot of money. LA generates a lot of money. Miami probably generates a lot of money. Minnesota's not generating a lot of money. fucking Charlotte is not fucking generating a lot of money. That's why you see them doing dumbass shit like trading LaMelo and trading Miles Bridges and they just found a winning formula, and then they immediately blew it up. It's all of this shit is being done for money. I think there has to be a change done to the luxury tax where teams are taxed based on the amount of money they're generating. Because if your team, when the Warriors had their super team with KD, remember how I said that they were way over the salary cap? Like, even if the second apron had existed today, which is like 207 mil, those niggas would have been at like 250 mil. So they would have had to pay bare tax. Bro, the owner didn't care because the fucking Warriors were generating like 400 fucking million. So him actually building that team and overspending ended up making him more money. When you're a team who's in fucking Charlotte, if your team is D's like that, you could have the best team in the fucking world. You're still not going to generate fucking as much as like a team like LA or Golden State. So the luxury tax will fuck you to the point where you're making less money. So that's why you see these teams, they don't even when they do get a formula where it's like, oh, they look like a really good fucking team, they immediately fucking blow it up. That's what they just did with LaMelo and them niggas. Same reason why MJ sold that shit. Like, bro, they're not making money off of it, bro.
Hey, it needs to be the owner, right? However, we just acknowledge that Chisholm, the owner on paper, or the face of the ownership group, he as an individual does not have enough money to play at this level. It's all the other people backing. And so the way in which they have broken up the financial structure, 6th Street, they don't have any liabilities behind anything. They're going to gain all their money. They don't take any risk. And if anything goes wrong, they get paid out first before everyone else. So that also means that you as the face, you as Chisholm, the one who's put up as the owner, even though you really don't have the backing to do so, anytime it's time to dip into the piggy bank to start paying the luxury tax and start paying the second tax apron, that's coming out of your pocket. Relatively speaking, though, you're broke, my nigga. You don't have the funds to keep up with what's going on, especially in this new NBA, new CBA. And so, if you are Chisholm, if you are an owner who's a part of a $6 billion purchase of a team, but you don't really have the funds to keep up with a $6 billion team, when it's time to start making those tough decisions, you have no other choice but to start cutting costs. That's why. So that's why you move over Jrue Holiday and Porzingis, because even though Tatum, tore his Achilles, but that should not have been enough of a reason to just blow the whole team up, especially not Porzingis. But that's why you did it. That's the reason why, when it was time to now sign JB, because the whole reason why, remember, at least this is what I thought. I thought the reason why you got off of Jrue Holiday and Porzingis was to make room for the inevitable Jaylen Brown contract. But now this is not only the first, but now second year in a row where they effectively decided to deviate away from any large or long-term financial commitment. And even though, yes, Paul George does make a lot of money as well, once his contract is done,
it's done. He has 2 years. With Brown, they'd have to re-sign.
They don't have to have $70+ million after the next 2 years. It's over with. That's why they did it. That's why. And I'm so happy this information is starting to get out, because when you start to actually view it through that lens, a lot of stuff and a lot of decisions that have been made from the Boston Celtics, it makes a lot of sense. And so now, the only way to really keep up with the amount of money that's being thrown around in the NBA, when the CBA goes up, the TV money goes up, the salary cap keeps going up, bro, crazy enough, normal billionaires, they can't even keep up with what the type of money that's being thrown around now. If you step into the second tax apron, you're done. Even if you're a repeat offender in the first tax apron, you're done. And for the people out there who are wondering why private equity firms are just bad for the NBA or what exactly they are, because essentially they're just an entity with a bunch of money that is here to do nothing more but earn money. That's it. And unfortunately, regardless of what people want to say, most teams in the NBA, they still lose money. Like, unless you're in the LA market, Knicks, maybe Golden State, something like that, your team is still going to lose money. But the person who really explained it the best is Mark Cuban, because he actually had a really, really great explanation on everything. And he actually talked about the Celtics, if I'm not mistaken, as well.
How much are you willing to pay for this plus minus amount? You know, if the guy's a net plus minus and he's top 10 in the league, okay, but if you don't have the other pieces, you can't, it's a wasted amount of money no matter what, right? It's got to be a finishing piece, not a starting piece, like I said before.
Mark, I have my thoughts, but I want to get yours on how did we get to this point, to this second apron nonsense and all these rules, all these stipulations we have now that, you know, people are mad about, and they got to actually, to me, do their job and their due diligence and actually, you know, hire the right people in their organization to make sure that they set up for the long haul because of these rules. How did we get to this point? I got my thoughts. I want to hear yours.
From an owner's perspective, former owner's perspective that knows other owners, half the teams lose money. Half the teams still lose money, because what ends up happening, Perk, even though the TV money goes up, right, a lot, 51% out the door to the players, right? And then on top of that, like the Mavs, we lost tens of millions of dollars when Bally's went bankrupt. Gone. It's like gone. And
for those who don't know what Bally's is basically the local market and how they were showing the games. I try to explain to these people about when we had a WNBA conversation about teams losing money in the NBA as well. For people who do not know, owners for most of these sports franchises, even at the highest level, their value in owning the team is not how much money they make on a year-to-year basis. Their value in owning the team almost always has something to do with the value of the team. So when they decide to sell, then they can pull out as much money as they want to. But they don't make money on a year-to-year basis. But the only way that you can confirm that you are able to make at least something on a year-to-year basis is if you financially have structured the contract or the equity behind the scenes that way. You make sure that when y'all are divvying out whatever was coming back to you at the end of the year, that the private equity firm, they get their money before everybody else, and they know for a fact, even if you lose money this year, we're going to end up getting paid. That's part of the problem in a lot of private equity firms. They make sure that you can at least maximize the margin, because that's the whole premise of why they exist. But he's about to explain this.
There was like hardly anything to replace it from our local TV deal. And so you've got, specific things like that where teams just are losing money. And the only teams that always make money are the New York and LA area teams. And even Boston made some money, not a ton, but made some money. But not a lot of other teams.
You make more bread when your team sucks, pretty much.
When people look at how much
I don't know who's going to say, but let me just quickly simplify what he's saying. Basically, these private equity firms come in, they back you, and they expect money in return. But most of these organizations are not making money. The team itself, the league may be profitable, but the team itself, they're not profitable. The team will make a certain amount of money. Half of that goes to the players out the gate, right? So the team isn't really that profitable. You gain your profit off of the evaluation of the team increasing over a set amount of years, not how much money you pocket every single season. That's not how that works. Most of the time, they'll break even or go slightly in a negative. If you're a private equity fund, that's not your goal. Your goal is to make sure that the valuation goes up, and when it's time to start splitting the bread at the end of the year, that you get paid the most, and so you're trying to increase your margins. That can't happen though, because it's very difficult, because even when the evaluation of the team goes up, that means that the operating costs, how much money you're spending on players and coaches and staff members, all that's going up as well. Like everything goes up. So yeah, sure, the team's evaluation goes up, but also the salary cap goes up, which means that you got to spend more money on these players. That goes up. And so, and I think also fans have a hard time understanding this as well. Like they'll see a number and they'll be like, whoa, that's a lot of money. And it's like, it is, but relatively speaking to what it normally is, that's just the cost of doing business right now, because there's so much money being introduced into the space that there's no way that the average owner back in the day can keep up with it. But that's just the norm. It's the same 25 to 30% of the salary cap that people have always been getting paid. The difference is the salary cap back in the day used to be like 115. Matter of fact, it used to be less than that. Now it's jumping to like 130, 140, 150. Like that's the difference. It's the same max across the board except for Supermax. The difference is just the amount of money. But you as an owner, you're not earning significantly more money, because normally the money you think you're going to get is from the team itself. But the evaluation of the team and the salary cap can go up, but how much money you take home, if you do, does not change.
That is why the Jaylen Brown trade happened the way that shit happened. Partially same shit with the Luka shit, It's unfortunate, and I think there has to be something done about like how they move with the luxury tax and how, and the second April, like that whole thing needs to be changed. But yeah.
Something, baby, I like just how you blushing. And maybe we could bust it at the function. Turn nothing to something. Wish you could just see the horrors of my life may upbring.